Hey there, I hope you're doing well. I'm Shauna, your counseling astrologer. This is your weekly astrology forecast for August 8th through the 14th. And this week is about developing resilience. We have some challenging aspects as well as a full moon in Aquarius. And I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you, as well as 3 tips for you to make the most out of this week. Brief announcement, I am participating in a local event. So if you're in San Diego, I'll be in the Hillcrest area this Friday, the 12th, for the San Diego Astrological Society, SDAS. They're doing their annual fundraiser and it's super fun. I'll be doing astrology readings and tarot readings, and there will be plenty of other astrologers, tarot readers there. And you can get a divination or a reading for $10, which is pretty cool. And again, it's a fundraiser, so all of the proceeds go to the San Diego Astrological Society and keeping them in business and having local lectures by amazing astrologers. So if you're in town, I would love to see you and do a little mini reading for you, and you can get a reading from other astrologers, amazing astrologers in the area as well. I'll have a link below. It's Friday at 7:30 in the evening. All right, so what's going on this week? We have Venus making an opposition to Pluto. So this is a tough aspect, and it can be deeply meaningful and enriching. Venus is all about relationships, love, beauty, sexuality as well. And Pluto is about the things that we feel uncomfortable with, insecure about, or even that we have very deep shame around. So this is like a very tender, vulnerable, and kind of like where situations around intimacy, especially things that you're feeling insecure about or vulnerable about, can come up. And so this can be something where you experience it more on the inside. It can be something that comes up in relationship that's discussed or worked out in relationship. And I want you to be very gentle with yourself this week around those issues. Venus is in the sign of Cancer when this happens. So Venus in Cancer opposite Pluto in Capricorn. And then Venus will shift into Leo on Thursday. So I'm sharing that with you because I think there's going to be a lot of like really deep and intense emotions and maybe intense relationship dynamics. This could also be relationship dynamics around power because Pluto is about power. And then there's this change on Thursday where things may lighten up after that. So again, just be really mindful and patient with that process early in the week. We also have the Sun squaring Uranus, and it will oppose Saturn as well. So this is reminiscent of the aspect that was involving Mercury aspecting Uranus and Saturn last week. So this has a similar kind of vibe. It's very much about wanting to break free, wanting to leave responsibility behind. That's the Uranus piece. But then there's something here where you're really locked into commitment, and there's a need to do the things that you need to do, Saturn, in order to have that sense of freedom, Uranus. And this could be like a little bit of both of those. Maybe there's things that you need to do in order to have that sense of freedom and autonomy. And maybe the stuff that you need to do can be done in sort of a different way. With it being the Sun, this is really about your will and your sense of leadership and power and authority and autonomy over yourself. So I want you to look for ways in which you do have the power and the authority to live your life in the way that you want. The other thing that's happening this week is we have a full moon. So the full moon is happening at 19 degrees of Aquarius. It's exact on Thursday the 11th at 6:35 p.m. Pacific time. That is 9:35 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in Australia, it's on a whole other day. It's on Friday the 12th at 11:35 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. So the full moon is always about this feeling of culmination. It's about emotions coming up, to be expressed, to be felt. Maybe things that you didn't know that you were feeling are coming up. And it being in the sign of Aquarius, this is about feeling into things that are new and innovative, and where you can feel a sense of purpose and connection to your community, where you can feel like you're reinventing and having your unique voice, but also still being a part of the group. I will be hosting a full moon ritual that is open. So this will be a place to cleanse, bless, and protect your energy. That'll be on Wednesday the 10th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and everyone is welcome. It will be a space where we can really channel into this full moon energy to cleanse and rejuvenate and sort of have like this fresh start. And I think that's really going to pair well with the other aspects that are happening this week. So I would love to see you there. The last aspect that's happening that I think is like gives us a nice shot of beneficial energy is Mars will trine Pluto. So yes, it's still Pluto, still the planet of the underworld. Pluto is very much about the things that it's about power dynamics, it's about the unspoken, it can be about shame and challenging situations. It can also be about developing power and resilience as well. And when we have Mars making this beneficial aspect, Mars is about physical energy and stamina and taking action and doing the things that you need to do, and meeting confrontation in a healthy way and engaging with conflict. So this, I think, is really saying like you have the physical energy and the vitality to do the things that you need to do. There's going to be a lot of emotions that are coming up in that process, but when it comes to physically taking action and executing things, there is a lot of support here. So tips that I have for you to make the most out of this week. Tip number 1 is to connect with your primary emotions. And what I mean by this, so this is an emotionally focused therapy technique. There's this concept of primary emotions and secondary emotions. Primary emotions are the emotions that we sometimes cover over with because they're more vulnerable. So primary emotions are a longing for connection, sadness, grief, and fear. Versus secondary emotions are more like anger and blame and hostility. And I'm saying this because we're really working with Pluto energy here. And when we feel unsafe, there can be a tendency to go into blame or shame or judgment. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that happens, we're human. And it's going to be more empowering for you to connect with your primary emotions. Like, what is it that you're really wanting or missing here? Is there a desire for connection? Is there a feeling of not feeling safe? And I think that there's a lot of power in naming that, in naming what it is that you actually feel at a very deep and vulnerable level. Now, this can be just for yourself, it can be in relationship, but when I'm talking about this, it's more like naming it just for yourself so that you know what it is that you're feeling. Tip number 2 is to ask yourself what you need to do this week, today, in this moment. So this is really working with Saturn energy to get very clear on what is the priority this week. What is it that you really need? And again, kind of working with Pluto energy too. Like, what do you need this week to feel safe, to feel accomplished, to feel connection? And you can, set those for this week, for the day, and even check in with yourself moment to moment. What do I need right now in this moment? Tip number 3 is to, for the week, define specific and achievable goals. So this is so important for the Sun-Saturn energy, because when we have the Sun opposite Saturn, it can be very easy to get overwhelmed and to feel a sense of powerlessness, because it feels like there's too much. So when we get really specific and we fine-tune that and we make the goals achievable, that like really opens up Saturn to help us manifest our creativity in a tangible way, and it makes it sort of feel like doable and achievable. So that's tip number 3, is to define specific and achievable goals. If you are interested in getting more into this in your personal life, I do offer individual astrology readings. I would love to work with you. You can find out more information on that on my website, which I'll have below. And that's all for the week. Please remember that you are awesome, and I'm sending you lots of love. I will see you next week. Bye for now.